All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's 8 o'clock. Hope everything has gone well for you. I've certainly enjoyed some of our one-on-one meetings. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't scheduled your one-on-one meeting with me yet, we need to do that as quickly as we can. The due date for that will be roughly mid-semester, so keep that in mind. So a few things today that we need to go over to kind of catch us up, and then we'll jump into the new stuff. So I didn't finish the Feynman technique last time because we had a guest coming in. We have another guest today coming in at 8:45 as well. So we're in a bit of a time crunch to get what we need done today. So let's go ahead and just jump in. So the Feynman technique, in my opinion, is one of the things that you can do to really know that you have learned the material. Okay. Richard Feynman was a Nobel Prize winning physicist. He served the country in a variety of ways throughout his career. But he was also known as a master teacher. And if you ever get an opportunity, go on YouTube and just type in Richard Feynman lectures. His lectures are some of the best lectures, are considered some of the best science lectures in the world, dating back for many years. So not only was he a brilliant man, a genius, a Nobel Prize winner, but he was also an avid teacher and a very good one. And so Richard Feynman came up with this technique, and he always told people, he said, it's not that I'm a genius. He said, I've got a technique and it works for me. And so he wrote this down and gave some people some instructions on the Feynman technique. Of course, he didn't name it the Feynman technique, but others did. So in a nutshell, basically what it is if you don't understand a topic, if you can't explain it in simple terms to somebody like your grandparents or a young sibling, if you have to use a lot of complicated technical jargon to get something across, you really don't know what you're dealing with. And so Richard Feynman came up with a method that allowed you to know whether or not you've achieved true understanding of a topic. Let's see if I can. There we go. So step one, he always said, get a notebook and write down the title of the concept you wish to learn at the top of the page. Right. So if you wanted to know something about the chemistry of astatine, you would write that down at the top of your notebook page, and you're going to keep everything to one notebook page. That's the key. Okay. And you're going to write down everything you know about that concept on that page. That's the very first thing you're going to do. And then you're going to explain that concept in the simplest possible terms. And the easiest way to think about that is actually find your grandmother, your grandfather, a young child, your roommate that's majoring in something completely unrelated to what you're doing. Can you explain that concept to them? And can you work simple or straightforward examples? Okay. And then step three is you're going to review your explanation, and you're going to identify areas where you struggle to explain it in simple terms. This is self-reflection. Right? We've been talking an awful lot about the need to self-reflect on our learning. If you have areas where you struggle to explain it in simple terms, you need to go back to the books, and you need to go back to your notes, and you need to learn it a little more deeply. Okay? And then you're going to add new things that you learn on that single notebook page, and you're going to try to connect it all together. And then you're going to go back to step two, and you're going to try to explain it again in simple terms. And you'll know that you have really understood the concept when you can explain what appears to be a complicated concept in the simplest of terms and explain it to somebody, again, kind of on the street, so to speak. That was Richard Feynman's genius. He could take complicated quantum mechanical realities of the world, and he could explain them to people that never took a physics class, and they could leave understanding that concept. Could they leave working complicated examples of that problem? Probably not. They didn't probably understand the math. But he understood those concepts so well that he could explain those complicated, or what we would think of as complicated physics concepts to people that had essentially no background in the field. Okay? So you're always going to try to simplify. You're always going to try to get rid of as much technical language as you can. And you always need to think about using analogies. I learned by using analogies. And science is all about analogies. We learn a set of body of facts, and then we extrapolate that to something that we don't know as an analogy. And then we test it in the lab to see if it holds true. So I think the Richard Feynman technique works very, very well for you to be able to gauge whether or not you truly understand the concept. And I think if you can go through these 4 steps, that'll certainly assist you in your learning. There's a picture at the bottom of Richard Feynman. He also served on the commission that looked into the Challenger explosion. And the neat thing about this picture is he actually had a cup of ice water there with one of the SEALs, and he was doing a demonstration in front of the commission as to why the Challenger shuttle exploded back in the mid-'80s. And so again, that just shows you, here's a Nobel Prize winning physicist using a cup of water and ice, keeping it very simple to where everybody could understand what was going on with what people thought was a very, very complicated issue. So again, he was demonstrating the Feynman technique in action there. I guess I had an animation. So this is an example of me going through the Feynman technique over the concept of carbocation rearrangement. This is a concept you all are going to learn when you get into organic chemistry. So I'm not going to go through all this, but I just want to show you how I use this to make sure that before I go teach a topic to students that I understand this in the simplest possible terms. And so again, on a sheet, I write down everything I know, and I try to keep it as simple as I possibly can in terms of what the students are going to understand. Now, of course, when you get to organic chemistry, you're going to have general chemistry, and you're going to have had some experience in laboratories. And so, I might not be able to just pick my grandmother, my 94-year-old grandmother, and have her understand carbocation rearrangements like I would like. But in terms of a student who's just had general chemistry, I think this fits the example pretty well. So I'm going to stop sharing that. That gets us through our Feynman technique example that I wanted to show. And so some other topics that I wanted to talk about today. We pull up some of the papers from CNE News that I put in your module for today. Blow that up, and we will share that page. Okay, can everybody see the article? Okay, good deal. So just a quick question, and you can just do it by show of hands by raising your hand in the Teams, so you know how to raise and lower your hand now. How many people found this particular reading kind of interesting from a career perspective? Okay, good number of you. That's good. That's actually what I wanted you to see, not necessarily that you all would be interested in electronic skin. But I felt like this was a perfect example of showing you how people can end up going down a particular career path. She started off at Bell Labs and got interested in materials. She's very interested in polymers. She's very futuristic in the things that she studies and thinks about. And so I found it very interesting the way that she's looking at, she was trained as a chemist. She works with polymers. She's dealing with sensors. She's thinking about kind of a futuristic goal. I mean, it's hard to imagine that being used tomorrow, but down the road. Alexandria, did you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I just saw your hand up. You might want to put your hand down if you wouldn't mind, please. It's easy to forget. I know. And so I thought it was an interesting read. I also thought it was interesting to look at the vitals. So we're going to look at a variety of different people's career paths throughout this course, so you can kind of get an idea of how people started off. But you can see, I mean, she started off, in the early 90s, getting her degrees, ultimately getting her PhD in 95. Likes to work with polymers. She has science fiction that she likes. She has science heroes, hobbies. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how all this comes together for an individual. So just kind of giving you an idea. Does anybody have anything they want to share over the reading on this? No? Okay. Let's jump into the next one. And that would be the article on astatine. Somebody chime in and tell me why they think I might have picked this article for you all to read. What's interesting about it? Go ahead and unmute yourself and just chime in. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
It may be due to all the kind of intrigue around astatine and the process it took to learn more about it, and the fact that we can't know much about it and the way that it is, and just that process of keep on trying until you could figure something out about it.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Kind of what Damien said, just the fact that there's evidence and trials being ran that it could be the cure for cancer, but we can't even, answer basic questions about it. It's kind of, there's a big gap. So I thought that was pretty interesting, which is why I thought you had us read about it.
Yeah, no, those are very good takes on it. Those were certainly some of the things that I was thinking about. We don't really know if it behaves more like a halogen or a metal. If you watch the video from the professor from Periodic Table of Videos, some of my favorite series, by the way, I think you all should be watching those in your spare time for sure. Learning about the elements. I think he does a very good job with that. It's kind of eccentric, but it's an interesting view of all the elements. They've gone through all the elements. But astatine, there's less than an ounce of astatine on the earth right now. And we're talking about maybe using it for cancer treatment. I mean, this is just amazing to me. For this to work, I hope you all understand the magnitude of this. A hospital would have to be able to generate the astatine through nuclear reactions, isolate the astatine and purify it, incorporate it into a molecule that can deliver it to a cancer cell, and administer it to a patient, all within the scope of just a few days. That have to be able to do this. I mean, the half-life isn't very long, right? And they would have to be able to do all of that on site to treat a single cancer patient. I find it amazing that they're even going down this path of trying to look at this. But the reason they are is because it's a very well-behaved alpha particle emitter. And they believe that it can hold together with a molecule long enough to make it to the cancer cell and do the work that it needs to do. And by the way, we're thinking about using this thing as a medicine, and we don't even know whether it really acts more like a halogen in the halogens or a metalloid, right? I mean, that just blows my mind. So that is just, I think, amazing. I have never seen astatine. Never. I mean, I've never seen it. And so I've seen a lot of the elements, but I've never seen astatine. And here we are talking about making molecules of astatine and how we can utilize that to do a variety of important work for a variety of different types of cancer. I just find that absolutely amazing. And, it just goes to show you the power of chemistry. So those were some of the readings that I wanted you to look at. I'm not going to show the video. Obviously, you can see the video from the professor, but I think you all should go through and take a look at that. So for the rest of the 30 minutes that we have until our guest shows up to talk about internships, or pathways as we call them here at the university, I want to talk to you a little bit about the academic bulletin. And we're going to start talking about your semester by semester guides. There is a semester by semester guide in the academic bulletin. It's idealized, and very few of you will fall into that semester by semester guide. That's why I want you to build a personalized semester by semester guide. So I have provided the link to the bulletin. When you click on it, you may come up saying you're trying to launch insecure content, but you just click on the link to academic bulletin and it'll take you to that academic bulletin page. Quick show of hands. How many people have gone through the academic bulletin fairly thoroughly?
I went through it, but got too confused.
It's easy to get confused with the bulletin. That is right. Okay. A good chunk of you, so I'm happy to see that.
I had looked through it before, but I mean, I didn't look through it much yesterday. But I mean, I had looked at my two majors before on there.
Okay, good. So the academic bulletin is the official repository for all of our academic policies and everything else that you all have to think about as students. Okay. Your attendance assignment today that just should have opened up about 20 minutes ago is about you going through the academic bulletin and finding things. It's kind of a scavenger hunt in a way. Okay. And it is to just get you familiar with the academic bulletin. The bulletin, so if you came to the university this year, you are under the 2020-2021 undergraduate academic bulletin. And that is the academic bulletin that will be with you until you graduate 4 years from now. Academic bulletins expire every 6 years. So if you started as a freshman this semester, you have 6 years to complete your degree under that academic bulletin. Once that academic bulletin expires, let's say for whatever reason it took you 7 years to graduate. I hope that's not the case, but sometimes life gets in the way. You would have to either one of two things, either undergo a switch to the new bulletin, which may have new requirements, or if you are just a course or two shy of getting done, what we can do is grant you an extension to your bulletin. Okay, but typically we only do that for folks who have a course or two left to finish. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Once you're in the 2020-2021 undergraduate bulletin, you'll see all of this confusing stuff on the left. Right? There are things on the academic calendar. You can find our university mission statement and our accreditation. Most of the time, undergraduate students don't give a care about that kind of stuff. You can find things about the university admissions policies. Not really important to you right now because you've been admitted, right? You're probably never going to look at that again. You can find information on student aid, student services. You're going to find your student rights and responsibilities. I highly recommend you look at that. You have rights as a student, but you also have responsibilities as a student. You can find all of your academic policies. You can find general degree requirements that apply to everybody at the university. You can find out things about our general education curriculum, otherwise known as our GEC. And then we've got stuff called, in the College of Arts and Sciences. You all are in the College of Arts and Sciences. That's where the chemistry program resides, right? So we'll go to the College of Arts and Sciences. And then you will see all of these things called departments, okay? and schools. What school are we in?
Mathematics and natural science.
We're in the School of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. That is right. So we're going to go to information for this. And what you will find is all of the degree plans that we have in the School of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. You will see that we have chemistry ACS certified, Bachelor of Science degree. We have a chemistry, biochemistry emphasis, bachelor's degree. We have a licensure, which means people who are wanting to get ready to prepare to teach high school chemistry. We also have math, physics. I'm not going to talk about those, right? And then we have our minors. We offer a chemistry, math, and physics minor in the school. You cannot both major and minor in chemistry. Even though you are completing all of the requirements for the minor, you cannot have a minor that shares the same program name. Believe it or not, we do get some students from time to time that go, not in chemistry, but will say, "Oh, I majored in this, but also satisfied the requirements for the minor. I want both the major and the minor." That's not how this works. Okay. So let's just go to chemistry, ACS certified chemistry. We're going to click on that. And when we're there, you're going to see your little preamble that talks about the degree. You're going to see the link to our degree requirements. You'll notice that our degree requires 124 credit hours. And you will see a semester guide. That's a semester by semester guide that you can print out and look at. Okay. However, your personalized semester by semester guide will probably not look anything like that. This semester by semester guide that we have up here assumes that each and every one of you came in being able to start in Calculus 1. Some of you may have had to come in starting at trig or college algebra. Some of you may have had to come in starting at Cal 2 because you had AP credit. All of a sudden, that throws everything in that semester by semester guide kind of off. But what I want you to understand is that doesn't matter. What matters is that over a course of 4 or 5 years, you get to walk across the stage at graduation. As your instructor, I don't care that you all start at different levels. I care about where you end up with. And my job is to help you with where you're at and help you to get to where you want to be. That's the whole purpose of this personalized semester by semester guide. Okay? And so what you'll...
Apologies. I couldn't hear what you...
Siri thinks I was talking to her. Sorry about that. So you're going to click on the chemistry degree plan. If you're doing biochemistry, you would click on the biochemistry degree plan. If you're doing licensure, you would click on the licensure degree plan. Okay? And what will pull up is a long list of stuff. You will have the GECs stuff listed first. GEC 01 is our written communication. GEC 02 is our natural science requirement. Every student has to complete at least 8 hours. Fortunately for you all, Chemistry 106 will count as one of your GEC courses. And each and every one of you also either have a biology requirement if you're biochemistry and or a physics requirement, right? So one of the physics classes or one of the biology classes that you have to take will satisfy the other GEC requirement. Okay, so you all get to kind of double dip in that area. You all are going to have to take 9 hours, 3 courses is what I meant to say, in GEC 03, which is our humanities requirement. You're going to have to take world literature. You're going to have one history, either history 101 or history 102. And then you're going to have to take something else, right, in this list. Some people will take 2 histories. Currently, if you are a licensure major, you want to teach high school, right now we require you to take both histories. Some of you may be history buffs and they're like, I want to take both histories. That's perfectly fine. I would highly recommend, however, to take one history and then take one of the philosophy courses. in my opinion. And in my opinion, that's because philosophy is where we have learned how we know things. Philosophy is the basis for our knowledge. And so I think an introduction to philosophy is a good training for everybody to have. It teaches us how to think a little differently. Okay? It teaches us how we can know things. And so I think that's very good. I took philosophy in college, one of my most enjoyable classes. In fact, it's the class that I think about the most when I think back when I was at the University of Arkansas. We were in class doing discussions about how we knew things. We were having to make arguments and all that kind of stuff. And it was a very good class. The comparative religion class is a very popular class. So if you're interested in religion, I highly recommend Religion 131. Professor Capper is usually the one, as far as I know, who still teaches it. And he's a very well-regarded professor by students. You're going to have an aesthetic values course. You're going to have some art, dance, music, or theater. Pick whichever one you want. My preference for students is to take the art. When I'm advising students, I always recommend that they take art because I think art and science share a common history in a lot of ways. And you all are in an area where structure and form matter. Molecules have a structure, they have a three-dimensional shape, and that dictates how they function. And so I think training in those areas to appreciate art certainly helps in that. But there is nothing wrong with the Dance 130 if you're you want to do that kind of thing. It's a great course taught by great faculty. Music is probably the most popular of those four courses. So you're going to end up being in fairly large classes if you end up taking the music course. And then, of course, theater. I don't know much about the theater course, to be honest with you, but I have heard good things from students. You're going to have 6 hours or 2 courses in social and behavioral sciences. If you are pre-med, you all need to think about this GEC 05 area very, very carefully. Okay? Yes, any 2 courses will satisfy your GEC, and you'll be fine from a chemistry point of view. But if you want to go on to medical school, you need to be taking sociology, and you need to be taking psychology. Okay? Psychology and sociology appear on the MCAT exam. They want students to have training in sociology and psychology. So those 2 courses, if you're listing pre-med right now, you need to be thinking about those 2 courses in your GEC 05. And it's very, very important that you understand when you get transitioned to a faculty member as your advisor, they're just going to look at that and go, well, you've got 2 courses. You're done. And they're right. But it may not be the right 2 courses for you if you're thinking about going to med school or dental school or something like that. So keep that in mind. Your math's going to be taken care of by your math requirement in the chemistry program. Your writing intensive requirement is going to be taken care of by your PChem class that you end up having to take. It's going to be your writing intensive class. I want you all to understand what writing intensive is. Every one of your classes at college is going to require a lot of writing, or at least they should. I know many of you are probably thinking Chemistry 108, I've already done a lot of writing. But it's not a writing intensive class. Writing intensive, WI, means that not only did you have to do a lot of writing, but writing and your grammar and feedback on your writing and getting you to be a better writer is part of what is required. From time to time, you may get comments from me about your writing, but it's not going to be regular, right? I'm not going to sit and grade your grammar to the nth degree like I would if I was teaching you in a writing intensive class. You're going to have a speaking intensive requirement. You're going to be able to satisfy that by one of these 2 courses, either CMS 111 or 320, public speaking or professional communication. Either one is a very good course to take. I recommend you take it as soon as you can. And then, of course, our capstone requirement is going to be satisfied by your Chemistry 496. research. Every one of you are going to have to do at least 3 hours of research in order to complete your degree at the University of Southern Mississippi in chemistry and biochemistry. I highly recommend that you start thinking about who you might want to do your research project with. Don't wait till you're a senior to try to figure that out. We'll talk more about faculty research interests later this semester, but it's not too early to start getting involved in research. It's not too early to start thinking about who you might want to do that research with, because each faculty member only has so many people that they can take into a lab at a time. And so the earlier that you show interest, the easier it is to get into a lab when you need to get into a lab to do your research.
I've got a question.
Sure.
What does the SI and WI mean next to some of them?
So SI
At
means
the bottom.
speaking intensive,
Oh, okay. I see.
and WI means writing intensive.
Okay.
Yep. Very good question.
And also, what in our one-on-one, you gave me some contacts with the faculty, but is there somewhere we can find more, like a list of writing faculty and stuff like, or not writing faculty?
There is. I actually, in one of my lectures, and usually I do this in about October. We will have a lecture where I go through each and every faculty member's research interests.
Okay.
I don't have time to invite all the faculty to come and talk about their stuff, but I'll have a one slide and we'll go through everybody, and it'll have their contact information on the slide. So you'll be able to do that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. You also have our program curriculum, which is called our DEG areas, which means degree areas, right? So DEG 01 is our major areas that belong to the chemistry program. Okay, so you can see all of these things that you're required to take. You will have to select one of these two courses. Okay. The DEG 02 requirements are things that are outside of the chemistry discipline. So you'll see you have to have at least 3 maths to be a chemistry major. If you're biochem, you have to have 2 calculus courses. You'll have to have one of the physics sequences, either the 111, 112 sequence, which is the trig-based physics, or the 201, 202, which is the calculus-based physics sequence. If you're thinking about going to medical school, I highly recommend the 111, 112 combination. It's going to save you some credit hours. Okay. If you're thinking about going to graduate school or doing research as a career in chemistry, I highly recommend you do the calculus-based sequence, the 201, 202. Okay, it is more recognized by graduate schools as a rigorous course that is foundational in a lot of the things that you might have to do as a graduate student. So if you're thinking about graduate school, being a professional chemist, definitely be thinking about the 202, 201 combination. Landon, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, about the difference between general physics and general physics calculus. It's so you said that med schools commonly require just general chemistry without calculus as
general physics, yes.
Yeah. So like what's the broader difference? Is it more based on like formulae and stuff, and more like what we're used to in like
from a content point of view, you're going to get the same content in both sequences.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference is in the calculus sequence, you're going to learn how to derive the physics equations using calculus-based principles.
Oh, okay.
Whereas in the other one, you're going to just use trig and the formulas as they are, if you will, right? And so the reason I say, either one would serve you well as a med student. But the reason that I say that is the trig-based one is each course is 4 hours with the lab. But with the calculus, it's actually 5 hours when you throw the lab in. So you've got an extra hour that you have to undergo for the lecture.
I see.
And that can get in the way of med students needing to shadow needing to do the Hatton externship.
Takes up a whole extra hour out of your week.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But in terms of learning about forces and magnetism and all that, you're going to learn all of that in both sequences. And then you've got DEGO3 where you have suggested electives. Okay, so to make up the hours that you need to get to 124. Okay, these are strongly encouraged but not required. These are things that we think are good ones to do. So you're going to be able to find your information on that page. Again, you're going to be able to pull up a semester by semester guide, and it'll show you in your freshman year, we recommend you take these things, your sophomore year, so on and so forth. You all can read that. But you'll notice that in your freshman year, it has you all starting out in Math 167. And that's just not going to be where some of you are at. Some of you are going to be in 168. Some of you are going to be in trig. Some of you are going to be in college algebra. And there is nothing wrong with any of those starting points. It just means that you're not going to be able to follow this semester by semester guide very, very easily. Some of you came in with AP credit that got you out of Chemistry 106. So you're actually in 107 this semester, right? And so all of a sudden you may have two courses that don't quite line up with the semester guide. And so that's why I want to caution you about the generic semester guide. But what you all are going to do is you all are going to develop your own semester guide using my template. And let me pull that up real quick. Let me share that with you. Can everybody see the semester by semester guide template? Okay. You all, let me be very clear here. You all must use this template to put this together. You must follow the format that I have given you to get full credit on this assignment. Part of the assignment is, can you follow the instructions? Okay. The reason, and there's a method to my madness. This is going to be a physical product that you're going to be able to share with your advisor when you get ready to do advisement in a couple of weeks. And you all are going to be able to sit down and have a conversation about each one of those pages. And I need it to be in a certain order so that it is efficient for your advisor to look at. Okay? When you sit down to have that advising session, which will probably happen by Teams or Zoom, you can hand them virtually or literally. You can say, this is what I think I need to do to get done in 4 years. And they're going to look through that, and you all are going to probably make some changes to it. Okay? I'm not going to go through this and be extraordinarily critical of where you've placed things unless it just absolutely makes no sense. Okay? But I want you to have a good, solid product to take to your advising session. That's the goal of this assignment. Okay? And that's something that you can keep with you. So everything is on a page for a reason. So the first page, you all are going to fill out the general information, which is going to have your name, your student ID number, your degree plan, right? Are you chemistry ACS certified, Bachelor of Science, or are you chemistry, biochemistry, whatever you are, you're going to put that there. You're going to put whether you're a member of the Honors College. You're going to list whether or not you have a desire to have a minor. Many chemistry majors will minor in mathematics because you took so many math courses anyway. You will list who your advisor is. Notice I made up a fictional name here. There's no Dr. Alan Atomic. Okay. Dylan, do you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me, Ismail?
I can.
Okay. If we plan to go to the master's program, would we put that for the degree plan or just keep it at bachelor's for now?
No, we're just only dealing with a bachelor's program right now.
Okay, sweet.
Landon?
Should we put, if we have like a tentative plan for a minor? Like,
Yep, you can do that.
Should
yeah.
we put like parentheses, question mark, or something?
Right now, if you have a desire to put a minor there, you need to list it. And you
Okay.
could put parentheses, desired, or you may have already declared a minor.
Okay.
So yes. Mac?
For the advisor, I have like several different ones. I have one, out of polymer science, and then I have I have one who I was assigned for orientation, and I even have an honors college advisor. So which one would I choose?
I'm not interested in the honors college advisor, but if you are, in your case, you're a double major, you're going to list both. You need to list both advisors.
All right.
You're going to list your math ACT score. If you don't have an ACT score for math, list whatever you have. If it was SAT, for example, you're going to list whether or not you have any AP credits from high school. You're going to list whether or not you had any dual enrollment credits. You're just going to say yes to or no to these. And you're going to mention whether or not you're a fraternity or sorority member. This way, your advisor is going to be able to look at this single page and understand the demands on your time. Okay?
Do we list the AP credits and dual enrollments that we have, or do we just say whether we have credits or not?
You will, if you have them, you will list them here underneath the line. Yep.
Okay, I see.
So if you had AP credits, you would list what they were here. If you had dual enrollment credits, you would list what they were here in the institution that you received them from. And then with the rest of the page, you're going to talk about your career plans and the relation to chemistry and biochemistry. Some of you want to go on and be a chemist. The relation is pretty obvious, but you still need to talk about it. Some of you want to go on and be a physician. You need to talk about why, right? So you can see the example, the fictitious example that I gave. This is about the length that I'm looking for. Mac, do you still have a question? Nope. Okay. Zach, you have a question?
Yes. What if you don't know exactly like what career you want to go into?
Well, I think take your best guess at it at the moment. It is perfectly fine to say, I don't exactly know, but these are the things that I'm kind of thinking about. Okay, we've got 3 more minutes until our guest appears, and I'm not going to get through all of this today. We'll pick some of this back up again on next week, but you all can go ahead and get started. But you can see each semester is on its own page. No 2 semesters should ever be on the same page, okay? So you'll see this is for fall of 2019. I did it last year. You'll change the date, right? This is your current semester now as a freshman. If you are a transfer student, this would be your, don't put current semester here, right? Some, whatever, to indicate that was your, when you were a freshman. You will list your prefixes of the courses that you'll be taking, the course number, the title, the credit hours, and you will tell me what that course is a prerequisite to. So Math 101, college algebra, is a prerequisite to Math 103 that I need. Chemistry 106 is a prerequisite to 107. I want you to be able to understand how these courses are connected. Okay? Very, very important. You're going to then total things up in the total credit hours. You're going to give an explanation for why these courses are needing to be taken during this this semester. I expect a good solid paragraph on that. And then you're going to talk about time management during the semester. Okay? Very, very important. I've got one hand up. I'm going to get to you just real quick, Madison, but we've got to get to our guest in just a moment. So I'm going to stop here on the semester by semester guide. We will pick this up again next week and finish it, but you can go ahead and get started thinking about at least the first couple of pages, okay? Okay, Madison, you had a question?
Yeah, so if I'm not a freshman, so if I'm in like my 3rd semester, I need to do that chart with the fall 2019 thing 3 times?
You will have you'll have one for a fall, a spring, and a summer. And again, I'll address that a little bit more next week, okay?
Okay. Thank
But
you.
yes, you will need to go back in time and list what you did in the previous semesters.
Okay, that makes sense.
Aiden, real quick.
Yes, is there a place on the bulletin, like where we can find pre-med requirements?
Pre-med requirements?
Yes.
Yeah, there is, and I will send a link out to folks on where you can find information about pre-med information, and most of that you're going to get from the pre-professional advisor.
Thank you.
Mac, real quick.
Do we click on like the template you gave us and then edit it, or do we like make a new one but make sure we copy exactly the way you did
Just
it?
download my template and edit it as you need to.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Paige Jones. Paige, are you with us? There she is.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. She is our director for our Center for Pathway Experiences. I think I got that right.
Yes.
And I'm going to turn it over to you, but I mentioned to you all earlier that pathways, think of internships and those types of experiences. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jones to talk to you about what her office can help you all with during your time here at Southern Miss. Paige, it's all yours.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I don't have to say my name since he just told you, but it's a habit. So my name is Paige Jones, and I'm the program director for the Center for Pathway Experiences here on campus. I do have a slideshow that I want to share with you all, and I'll talk through it. That talks about our office and how we can help you. But I do want to give a quick disclaimer that my neighbors are getting their grass cut, and I was not expecting them to do that so early in the morning. So if you hear it, it's, so I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen for you guys, and then I will get right on to it. So this is getting ready for the real world for the Center for Pathway Experiences. Love the title Ready for the Real World because that's what internships and other pathway experiences can do for students. It really just helps you get your feet wet. You're able to see if you actually really like the major you chose in action, and it can really help a lot of headache further down the road. You're able to get this experience, and you can see the quote on this first slide that actually says, hiring managers surveyed that they are more likely to hire a student with an internship or apprenticeship, which is just some type of experience, and how important it is for those communication and critical thinking skills. So this is the lovely office that we're in right now. I am doing virtual and remote appointments, but we are in what everyone calls the ugly green building in the front of campus, Mecklemore Hall. And this is where, virtually, I can help students with one-on-one appointments, which is a find session. So I'm able to show you resources, and we can talk through things, really kind of figure out what you want to do. We also have a Pathway Summer Scholarship Program, which is what we call the Fund. And then we also have a core recognition program that we like to call Finishing It. So I will go through each of those for you. So what is a pathway experience? Like Dr. Masterson said earlier, think of internship when it comes to a pathway experience. We don't call it like the internship office because a pathway experience can be any of these included. So if you're doing research and you have that mentor and you're looking into things that relate to your post-graduation goal, that type of research counts. Entry-level part-time jobs that relate to your field work, clinical, student teaching, all of that can count as a pathway experience because you're just getting something that connects you with what you want to do when you leave here. So a lot of people do ask if this is required for you to do and not necessarily. So half of the programs on campus do require you to do an internship or some type of pathway experience, and then half don't. So you can see some that are required. We have listed here on the side, like nursing, they help them get those clinicals, student teaching, and all those others, while some, like for instance, I majored in public relations for my undergrad, and it was not required for me to have an internship to graduate from my PR major. It was highly recommended that I do so, but it wasn't required. So me as a student back then, like now, I'm able to get on here and say, don't be like me, be better than me, of course. But back then, that if it wasn't required, it wasn't on my thing to do. But also back then, an internship was just the icing on the cake. And nowadays, internships is more like cake. So the growing expectations of employers. Employers put so much weight on experience, and I know all of you can tell. Even like I can go and look on Indeed, not right now because I have a job, but before I was hired, I would look on Indeed for different jobs. Like when I first finished my undergrad, and it seemed like every job I would click on, they would want a bachelor's degree and like 3 to 5 years experience. And I kept telling myself, like, how do you expect me to get 3 to 5 years experience? And I just graduated with my bachelor's. I felt like it was a catch-22 because I put all this work in, getting my bachelor's, did all this classwork, stressful nights. I ran track while I was in undergrad. So I really completed my undergrad stinky from always having to go to practice, run back to class, run back. And for me not to have that work experience on my resume, it really just didn't hold as much weight compared to others who were applying for jobs that I wanted in my field as well, especially since it wasn't required for me to do one. So love having this quote here that says how employers place more weight on experience, particularly internships and other types of employment, over GPA, because I am a true testament of that. I finished undergrad with like a 3.6, a 3.7 GPA. And I felt like I had all this, like I had student organizations on my resume. Like I said, I ran track. So I just felt like I was just this I pledged a sorority, and I felt like I was this well-rounded individual. Like, of course you're going to hire me because I'm great and I put the work in, but I didn't put the work in when it comes to actually getting an internship and having to show that on my resume, the experience that I got from it. Here are some companies where some of our students have actually completed an internship. So as you can see, you can go anywhere and get internships. A lot of people go out of state. This past summer, it was a little bit more difficult to help students given COVID-19 and everything that was happening, but we did still help 10 great students get an internship over the summer, and some still went to Washington, D.C., some went to like Virginia, and then we did have some do remote and virtual internships as well, but the possibilities are endless. And we help with that with our scholarship program, which I'll talk about a little bit more. So here are some responses from students that really just explain how great it is that they were able to do an internship or something before. So these actually talk about problem solving and communication skills. And one thing that I can say is the National Association of College and Employers, or what we just like to call NACE, they put a heavy emphasis on career competencies that they expect all students to have when they graduate. It's 8 competencies that range from some of these issues that you see, like problem solving, critical thinking, communication skills, but there's 8 of them. So that's also leadership, collaboration and teamwork, cultural and intercultural diversity. It also talks about career management, professionalism, and work ethics. So you can look on here and just see what students, how they said that these internships help enhance those experiences. And you are able to answer some of these questions in our reflection if you do an internship, which of course I'll talk about a little bit later. But I actually love reading the one about communication skills because it's something that I feel like is the simplest task, but can cause the most problems. And so I love that this student said, this internship was my first experience in a professional job setting. I learned how to communicate effectively in a work setting. She learned how to do tasks that were assigned to her based on instruction. They had coworkers review the work. And then any problems that they have, I can't tell you how many times I have had issues arise from situations that could have been solved with better communication skills. And that can be via email, that can be in person talking, so many different ways to communicate when you're in a professional setting, especially depending on the field. Well, you know the field you're going into, but it's just so important amongst all of those other career competencies that you can get from having some type of experience. Here are some more benefits. So I really love these benefits because I know a lot of the times you want to know how much you're going to get paid when you're applying for a job. And it's good to know that 28% of people who do an internship or a type of pathway experience really has a higher starting salary than those who did not do one. And that can be for a variety of reasons. A lot of jobs might have ranges. So someone with less experience would get lesser amount on their range, while somebody with more experience would get paid closer to the higher end of it. So having that type of intern experience helps you get to the higher end of what you're able to get when you're applying for jobs. And over 72% of interns receive full-time job offers from the companies where they did an internship. I also looked up and I was doing some research recently, and it also shows how 37% of employers look to hire outside. And so over majority, like only 30% look outside. So this 72.2% is what they're getting from their internal people. So they're going, a lot of the times, if you were to start getting an internship early, majority of the times, if you do a great job, they will want you to come back to complete more internships. You're able to gain more responsibilities. You might start off as an unpaid intern and you show what you can do, and they want you to come back, and then you could get paid the next time for your internship. And then from there, they could keep you and then just hire you on full time. A lot of companies like to hire their internal employees to move them up as a sense of job satisfaction and things. So it's easier to already be in the company and move up than to be outside and to try to apply in. So that's why we love to talk about pathways, and that's why we're here to help you all. And then you can see this last bullet point. It talks about NACE there. So it says it helps them really just use the internship program to help get those professional competencies for the entry-level hires.
Paige, we got 1 minute.
Oh, great. So I can go ahead and go through these. I did not realize. So benefits of pathways here, you can see some more. But honestly, here are the skills that I was talking about. This is what you can do to gain. This is what you gain from it. These are those career competencies I was telling you: problem solving, communication, learning to work as a team member, some more excerpts. And honestly, I'll just stop going through the slides so I can talk to you. And I can honestly just stop sharing my screen as well, so I can talk really quick.
So in the last bit, Paige, could you tell the students how they can get in touch with you and make appointments?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the website in the chat that we all have. So usm.edu/pathways is the website, and you can go on there, book an appointment with me. It's a virtual appointment. We'll have it through Teams. I can also help you if you're interested in a summer scholarship. You have to apply by March 1st of 2021 next year. So that means you need to be looking for summer internships now. You need to be looking for summer internships, especially around Christmas break if you don't. So that way we know where you're at. You can apply for the scholarship. You can get some money. And then if you do an internship, you can fill out a reflection and get a free graduation cord when all is said and done. but you can find everything on my website. Write me on there. We do have social media, Instagram, USM Pathways, Facebook, Pathways, USM.
All right. Right on time. Thank you very much, Paige. And I will see everybody next week. If you have any questions, please reach out to Ms. Jones, and she'll be happy to answer any of the questions you have about Pathways. And we will complete our discussion on our personalized semester by semester guides next week as well. So just keep that in mind, but go ahead and get started on some of that work, and I will see you all next week. Thank you all.